the monster of the Twin Rivers. In the mid-2000s, Binghamton was a city of long shadows and transition. The boom of the IBM years had faded, leaving behind a skyline of brick factories and the echoing silence of the Susquehanna and Chenango rivers. It was a time of baggy jeans, the blue glow of Motorola Razors, and the smell of Speedies wafting from backyard grills. But when the sun dipped below the rolling hills of the southern tier, a heavy, damp fog would often roll off the water, swallowing the riverwalk and turning the parlor city into a maze of gray mist. For 3 teenagers walking home after dark, the city didn't feel like a quiet college town. It felt like a place where the old legends of the valley could still reach out and grab you. The Binghamton River monster. No, it's true. My Uncle Duke told me about it, Joseph said as he stopped. While the other 2 kept walking, Thomas stopped and turned towards Joseph. Rolling his eyes, Thomas said, "That is just a story parents tell their children to keep them from going to the Riverwalk at night." Joseph was determined to convince his friends that his uncle's story was true. Joseph took a second while his friends continued walking down the sidewalk. Joseph, noticing he was getting left behind, started to jog to catch up. Joseph yelled, "Hold up a minute, guys. I'm telling you, my uncle said he saw it after his poker night with the guys." Joseph speaking with his hands. "My uncle wouldn't lie to me, guys. Come on, I am not making this up." Jack, the 3rd boy in this trio, raised his eyebrow and said, "Doesn't your uncle get pretty drunk at those poker nights? Don't you think he coulda had one too many and thought he saw something that night?" Joseph saw the logic in Jack's argument, but still knew what his uncle had told him was true. Joseph said, "You make a good point, but I was up the night he came home." Uncle Duke was as white as a ghost. Uncle Duke was a Marine, and nothing scares that man besides his mama. Joseph made a wide-eyed expression when mentioning his grandmother. Joseph continued, "He was terrified and ran into the house, slamming the door behind him. I was in the kitchen when he got home. I asked him what was the matter, and he said that he saw a monster. I asked him what monster, and he said, while catching his breath, that he saw the Binghamton River monster." Uncle Duke said that he just left poker and was walking home. He decided to cut through the Riverwalk to get home faster. Duke said that it was a little foggy out, but the path was well lit. Duke said that he got halfway across when he could hear splashing coming from the river. He looked out. Joseph's voice dropped to a trembling whisper, and through the mist, he saw an old wooden rowboat drifting silently downstream. There was no engine, no oars hitting the water, just a shape standing on the deck. Duke said it looked like a man at first, wearing a tattered yellow slicker, but it was too tall, too thin. The thing turned its head toward him, and it didn't have a face, just a wet, pale mask of skin. Jack and Thomas slowed their pace, their eyes darting toward the dark tree line near the water. Duke said the thing raised a long, spindly arm. Joseph continued. It gave him this slow, mocking wave. Duke was so frozen with fear, he couldn't move. He just stared. And that's the rule, guys. Uncle Duke remembered the old legend just in time. If it waves to you and you don't wave back, it comes for you. Duke's hand was shaking so hard he could barely lift it, but he managed to give a small wave back. The thing stopped. It tilted its head, then sat down in the boat and drifted back into the fog. What if he hadn't? Thomas asked, his voice cracking. Then it'll dive in, Joseph said. Duke said, as soon as he waved. He saw the boat tip slightly. He's heard stories of people who just stood there, paralyzed. The monster slips into the dark water, silent as a stone, and swims ashore with speeds no human can match. It drags them back down into the muck. No one ever sees them again. No bodies, no clothes, just a few wet footprints on the pavement that dry up by morning. The bear's den, the trio hurried their pace, the hum of the city feeling miles away. They didn't stop until they reached the bear's den in the South Hills. In the 2000s, the stone lookout was the go-to spot for kids to hang out, a fortress of graffiti and local history carved into the hillside. Sitting on the cold stone ledges, they looked out over the valley. The river was hidden beneath a thick, white blanket of fog that looked like a solid floor. The safety of the den felt fragile tonight. Somewhere down there, hidden by the mist and the dark currents of the Susquehanna, a lonely boat was drifting. They sat in silence, each of them tucked deep into their hoodies, keeping their hands ready, just in case. They saw a pale shape waving from the white abyss below. I leaned back against the cold stone of the lookout, watching the boys disappear into the darkness of the park. It's easy to call guys like Duke crazy or drunk when you're standing under the safety of a streetlight, but in a place like Binghamton, where the fog settles into the valley like a heavy, wet blanket, the line between a tall tale and a terrifying reality gets real thin, real fast. The thing about these old urban legends is that they don't just come from nowhere. They're born from the gaps, from the people who went out for a pack of cigarettes over the years and never came home, or the ripples in the Susquehanna that move against the current. Maybe the monster is just a story to keep us off the Riverwalk, or maybe it's a warning that some things in this valley have been here much longer than the factories and the bridges. If you ever find yourself down by the water on a misty night and see a hand rise from a drifting boat, you'd better be polite. You'd better wave back, because once that creature slips into the black water, there isn't a lock in this city strong enough to keep it out. But don't go looking for the spot where we sat that night to test the theory for yourself. The years haven't been kind to our old haunts. The stone is crumbling, the shadows have grown longer, and the bear's den is now officially closed. Stay off the banks, Binghamton. Sleep tight,